Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Detroit Pistons. So I was just watching a Joe Polo video, who, by the way, is the best Pistons YouTuber in the game, so shout out to Joe Polo. But I was watching one of his videos and he was talking about a recent report talking about Collin Sexton being the favorite, being like a good, solid candidate to go to the Detroit Pistons. So apparently there's a match in there. Now, this is interesting, and it gets me thinking about the Detroit Pistons offseason as a whole, which is, it's extremely intriguing because really in the draft, having that fifth pick, you can do a whole bunch of different things. I mean, the Pistons really can do a bunch of different things. You have a bunch of young players. You have some guys who are going to have some value, like Jeremy Grant. I would imagine Jeremy Grant gets traded eventually. And then you have, like, Killian Hayes, who I am so hopeful for. I'm so hopeful for Killian Hayes. I mean, I have never had hip issues. I've never torn my hip clearly, but I can't even imagine like tearing my hip. I mean, that just sounds like an absolute colossal nightmare. Outside of that, you have Saddiq Bey, who probably had the most low-key 50-point game of this past season. I mean, you have guys like Marvin Bagley, who we'll see if the Pistons decide to bring him back. But when I'm thinking about Sexton, I'm like, all right, first off, Jaden Ivey. You know, if you want Collin Sexton, I would imagine you definitely want Jaden Ivey. Well, are the Kings going to take him at 4? What if the Kings take Keegan Murray at 4? I mean, there's a whole bunch of different possibilities, which is really the versatility, the flexibility that GM Troy Weaver is trying to establish, and he's done a perfect job of it. But I know, as intriguing as the Cade Cunningham-Jaden Ivey duo is, it gets me thinking that like the Detroit Pistons are going to be relevant probably really soon. I mean, it might sound far-fetched, and it might be far-fetched, but I genuinely believe, like, I mean, imagine Detroit, imagine whether or not you think this is what the Pistons should do this offseason. Could you just imagine if they go out there and they sign, let's say they sign Collin Sexton, all right? You sign Collin Sexton, you draft Keegan Murray or Shadon Sharpe. Let's just say they draft Keegan Murray because I know they're still looking to acquire some big men. As much as I want to hypothesize, as much as I want to imagine DeAndre Ayton going to the Pistons, I think DeAndre Ayton will go to, I don't know, maybe like the Spurs, Raptors. Are the Pistons honestly, genuine chance, pretty genuine shot at DeAndre Ayton. I still would say it's a little unrealistic, but Mitchell Robinson, we'll do Mitchell Robinson. We'll be a little bit more easygoing, and we'll say Mitchell Robinson. So could you imagine a starting 5 next season of Cade Cunningham, Collin Sexton, Saddiq Bey, Keegan Murray, and Mitchell Robinson? Like, is it going to win a championship next season? No. But with that team, with Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart coming off of the bench, would they probably make the play-in? I would say if they stayed healthy. And yeah, I mean, you got Jeremy Grant. I don't know what they're going to end up trading Jeremy Grant for, but you can't forget about him. Throw him in that as well. So maybe you got Jeremy Grant starting there at the 4 instead. But I mean, personally, Pistons fans, like, first off, Pistons fans, I love you guys so much. You guys are so cool. Motor City is dope as hell. I got to get back out to Detroit sometime this summer. I was there about a year ago. I was in Detroit about a year ago. It was my first ever short on this channel if you want to go check it out. But anyways, damn, Motor City, like, they got the baseball stadium next to Ford Field. It's just so freaking sick, dude. I tweaked. I was driving all night and I tweaked, and I was like, I just illegally parked right outside of Ford Stadium. Oh man, why can't I think of what the Tiger Stadium, Comerica? I think it's like Comerica or something like that. I used to live just outside of Detroit in Northville, and when I was a kid. And so I was illegally parked. I wanted to go explore, but it was super late. There was a game about to end, and I saw it was about to end. I was like, oh, damn, this is about to get probably pretty busy here. So I dipped out, but I love Detroit. Anyways, Collin Sexton, is he the best move for Detroit? I actually don't think I think what really is the bad part is the money. But here's the thing. Colin Sexton is coming off an injured season. I think this is probably the lowest value you could sign Colin Sexton possibly, like ever. I mean, the whole CBA, the basketball, the media, all that new stuff that might come into agreement next season, if it does, what you're going to see is something very similar to 2016. And what 2016 we saw was guys like Alan Crabb get 4-year, $80 million contracts. We saw Timofey Mozgov get 4-year, $80 million contracts. We saw, who's another guy? Come on, think of one last dude who got like a 4-year ABD. Was it Shumpert? No, I don't think it was Shumpert. But I think Timofey Mozgov kind of gets my point across of, you might see some guys next season get paid some big bucks and some guys who probably aren't the most deserving. So maybe now is the best time, whether you're Detroit, whether you're not Detroit, to go ahead and sign a cat like Colin Sexton. But Sexton's a pure scorer. This past season, he only scored 16 points per game, shooting 24% from downtown. I mean, like I said, he played 11 games. 16 points per game, probably playing the worst you ever have in your career. I mean, that's pretty solid. So he was going to get going. But with the emergence of Darius Garland, it's kind of like, you know, do you want to stay in that direction, or do you want to keep Karis LeVert and retain Karis and, you know, go on with Karis LeVert? Personally, I think that's what they're going to do, because I would view Karis defensively as much better than Sexton. Sexton can play some defense if he really tries, if he really wants to, but I'm not signing Colin Sexton for his defensive ability. So that is something you have to factor in. But if we go back and we just look 2 seasons ago where he played 60 games for the Cavs, 24.3 per game, 37% three-point shooter. He's a career 38% three-point shooter. So yeah, 24.3 per game, 3 rebounds, 4.5 assists, a steal. Like, that's the Colin Sexton that I would want to pair with Cade Cunningham. But once again, something I was talking about in the beginning of the video is like, if Jaden Ivey is on that board, you need to sign Jaden Ivey, or you need to draft Jaden Ivey. So I would imagine we have 10 days till the draft. Nothing's going to happen to Sexton. We saw JaMychal Green get traded earlier today, which I was pretty shocked at. I can't believe a trade went down this early. I guess it's not that crazy, but I just wasn't ready for it. You don't see too many trades. Point being, you don't see too many trades around this part of the season before the draft, while the NBA Finals are technically still going on. And it's almost like, bro, we're halfway through June. Like, as good as this Finals is, and it's currently Game 5 at the time of this recording, I'm ready for the offseason. Anyways, if Jaden Ivey's on that board, you're selecting Jaden Ivey. If he's not, you're selecting either Shadon Sharpe or Keegan Murray, most likely. And from that point, then you can kind of assess, be like, all right, you know, is Colin Sexton a guy we should go out and we should snag? You know, is Ayton a guy we should snag? Is Mitchell Robinson a guy we should snag? You know, are we going to trade Jeremy? What are we going to get for Jeremy? A lot of it's going to be determined on draft night if the Pistons do, in fact, end up trading Jeremy Grant, which I honestly don't think is far-fetched one bit. I would not be surprised one bit if Jeremy Grant was unloaded in the draft and Detroit had like pick 7, 8, or 9 or something like that. Like, what's so interesting about this draft, and let me just pull it up here, is you have teams like number 4, Sacramento. They're trying to win. 6, Indiana. Who really knows what's going on in Indiana? 7, you have Portland. Portland is 100% trying to win with Damian Lillard on their team. Number 8, you have the Pelicans with a healthy Zion. You're also looking to compete after what we saw from this past year. AJ Griffin. San Antonio Spurs, they're sick of getting all these. They have 3 first-round picks. They're sick of drafting all these first-round picks. They have plenty as it comes, so they're going to be open to trade. The Wizards, you're trying to retain Bradley Beal, so basically I feel like this lottery is so different than lotteries in the past, where not too many of these teams, except for like, you know, Houston, OKC, Orlando in the top 3, and then you've got Detroit at number 5, are trying to actively rebuild and acquire assets through the draft, acquire superstar talent through the draft. So it's a really interesting time in general, I would say. But that's really it for today, man. If you guys like this video, you want more Pistons content, go ahead, drop a comment down below. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, just say some opinions. What do you think the Pistons should do in these next couple, I guess, like 2 weeks? Just kind of play it by ear through draft, see if Grant gets traded, make your selection at 5, go from there. What are your initial thoughts? Peace.